I'm Joshua Muhammad with the Panther Party. It's time for us as PV students to take over PV. I'm on a Pretty Plug show. It's time to make PV great again.
Of the Panther Party, none other than Mr. Joshua Muhammad. Now, this is also a part of the Black Men Mattering series, and I just want to highlight the leadership we do have in our communities. Now, Josh, tell us who you are, where you're from, how you came to Prairie View A&M University.
So like you said, my name is Joshua Muhammad. I'm from Houston, Texas, right down 290. I was raised in what's called the Nation of Islam, so you know, Mr. Farrakhan, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, all were taught by a man named Elijah Muhammad, and I was raised under that, so I always had a love for black people, organizing black people, making us realize our great history and the greatness that's before us and what God wants to do with us. And then from there I ended up at PV. As the cliche story is, it wasn't my first choice, but from there I was going to go to U of H first for computer science, ended up changing my major, headed down to PV for electrical engineering, and then I got here. I loved it. I was around black people. I get to interact, engage with black people, get to organize black people when it comes to the movement, and that's how I got here, and now I'm right here talking to you.
And I'm so glad you're here today.
I'm glad you had me today.
Yes.
Really appreciate that.
Let's dive in. What is the Panther Party 1876? And how did it get started? Tell me everything. Like, was it in the backyard? Was it just in your mind? Tell me how you came up with this organization.
So the Panther Party, it came from an organization that we had on campus called Join the Movement, and that started with the tragedy of Sandra Bland. So once that happened, students just wanted to get engaged and do something about it and get justice for Sandra Bland. But what we realized when we started doing that is that what caused Sandra Bland was a microcosm of a macrocosm of the 140-year history of Prairie View A&M University and even PV, the town, dealing with A&M, dealing with Waller County, and realized that it was a specific justice for Sandra Bland, but a more overall general justice for when it comes to our dealings with Waller County and A&M and things of that matter. So when we realized that, it expanded the movement, and then from there, it was a group meet in a sense. That's how it started, called Join the Movement, and from there we led to calling it the Panther Party as an official entity and a political organization.
Wow. And you're the co-founder.
Yeah, so it was so Join the Movement was started by a lot of different students and people in the city, and then when we transitioned to Join the Movement, it was me and my friend Irvin Bryant. I made it like official in a sense, but we had other members like Kayla Gilchrist, Marissa Tucker. I can run off names all day. Hannah Bonner, who's very active in the community around here. We're the ones who make up the organization of the Panther Party.
Wow. Okay. And have you faced any adversity? I know having an organization is very controversial. It's about the social impacts, right? So what adversity have you faced just being a co-founder?
Adversity is always raised to like love adversity and conflict, so it gets me excited. So I never really see it as adversity in a sense, more like just a challenge. But with anything, any movement, you have the moment of when something first happened, and then there's an initial reaction. Then it goes to a movement, which to get a specific goal or agenda done, and then making it more an institutionalized movement. So when we first, our first challenges were, and even still now, is how to get the energy of the masses and then make it to where we're actually getting work done, getting an agenda done. So when we first had a meeting, it was like 2 people the first time, and we just came up with some general goals and things like that. And then we kept being consistent, and then from there it was like 2 people to 3 people to 4 people to 5 people, and numbers kept adding on. But organizing, we learned that you don't have to go for like the masses at first, but go from like everything in nature start small like a seed, and then from there just start growing and going through those growing pains to where you institutionalize something.
Okay, so who is your audience, and what message are you really trying to spread?
Oh, now you're asking the real question. So the audience is the PV community, whether it's the town, university, the students, or if everybody from the young to the old. That's the audience, and the message that we're trying to spread is a message of independence and self-sufficiency. So if you study Our town, or the black communities in general, like across the nation, even across the world, they're not necessarily communities, they're more so colonies.
Yeah.
And the makeup of a colony is that all the resources, the economics, is controlled by those from outside of it. So you look at the university, who controls it? A&M. You look at the town, who controls it? Waller County. People that don't look like us. So when it comes to independence, so you know what? This is our community, this is our university, we want to control it, and then self-sufficiency comes from that. We want to be able to, I think you realize, or you remember that happening right now, they're doing budget cuts for the state of Texas. So when you think of that, it's like, yeah, you don't want to get budget cuts for your school, but then even in a sense, why are we so dependent on others to support our own institutions? When we can become entrepreneurs, start making companies to where Prairie View needs some money, here goes a check, build your stadium, and now we don't have to depend on others to do for us. So independence and self-sufficiency in controlling our own institutions, controlling our own communities.
Okay. And I believe that. I do believe we should not have to wait on the government to give us money, because I don't wait on the government to give me money when they want their money. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
So, what social events have happened that caused the uprising? And we did talk about Sandra Bland. Is that the main issue that really caused it, or are there other social events that have happened that just really made?
I feel like it's always the straw that broke us back. So when I talked about the 140-year history of Prairie View, it's always like things that led into something. Then there's like that one event that just like really tugs at your heartstrings that makes you want to get up and do something. But more than just Sandra Bland, but even so internally, you have the two tragedy, two deaths that just occurred like a few weeks ago at the hands of our own. So realizing that all these different things, they're not new. It might be more social media now, so you can see them, you see them more often, and it looks like it's happening more often. But in the day, it's like all those things add up together. You sit back and realize, okay, we keep reacting to things, but we're not necessarily responding to things, and then putting solutions and implementing those solutions to make it change for good.
Okay. And I just want to bring up a point. A part of your e-board, you have Miss Hannah Bonner.
Yes.
She is not an African American.
She's not.
She is an ally. She's Caucasian, which I believe is beautiful. But, you know, how can other people that are not African American get involved? And, you know, what really makes her get involved? Like, let's talk about that. So
the term justice is a universal principle to where everybody has experienced injustice. And I tell people a lot of times, even white people suffer from white supremacy. And you would think, but when you look at it, you have like the wealthy white folks, and you have like, in a sense, the middle class and the lower class white folks. But even they suffer from like white supremacy and the ignorance that have been perpetrated by members of the people that run America, run the world. So we have anybody who has a love for justice, then they can always help out with getting justice and then a voice to justice. Now we always have a specific gender that must be done. Like there are certain things that black folks just have to do for black folks. Like it's the only way it works out. Like if I have a family, like at the end of the day, I go home to my family, certain things that we got to talk about. But then families can come together for the general justice, and from there work together to acquire that justice for whatever black folks went through, whatever the brown people went through, whatever white folks went through. It's all about justice.
I love that. So thank you, Hannah.
Thank Hannah.
Thank you, Hannah.
What's up, Hannah? Hey.
You know, shout out to her
Shout out.
because that brings the whole justice piece, and it also shows universal love. You know, we all have the same blood inside of us, but when you can recognize that another part of this world is suffering because of something else, like that's love. So my next question is, how should African Americans move in order to increase our economic and social status in today's society?
Now you come with the questions. I love this question. Prairie View was founded as a agriculture mechanics, as a land grant school. And when you study land, every war that was ever fought was over land and the resources under that land. That's what makes nations independent. That's what made America rich. We know because they stole land from the Native Americans, and then we picked the cotton. So they had about 350 years of free labor, which is like the biggest expense when it comes to a business. So from that being said, is that when you study Black America, we don't produce anything for ourselves. So I have a mentor in Houston. He said that if white folks start making toilet paper, it'll be a brown day in the black community. Because we don't produce the cotton that goes into the toilet paper, we're just totally independent of other people to do for us, we can do for ourselves. When it comes to economics, it's about controlling land, controlling the production of it, even the manufacturing, everything from the ground to the shelves, and then how we market it, everything, and that's how you start economics. That's the root of it, and then from there we start rising. Because once you control the means of production, then your businesses begin to spring up.
Wow, thank you.
No, thank you.
So let's talk about the blogs. When you go to the website, you've talked about the first monumental flaws in Austin, Texas, I believe. You also talked about Sandra Bland and police brutality inside of the community and outside of it, meaning just outside of this university. Like, are you all blogging consistently? Like, what is the purpose of your blogs?
So we were talking to one of our mentors like last semester, and we have a tendency, and this is more so a reaction tendency, you try to react to every different thing, and you be so spread out, and then you look at the end of the day, you haven't got nothing done, because you're trying to multitask with everything. So what happens is that we realize that we can't really tackle every issue, but we can lend a voice to every issue.
Yeah.
So we started the blog to say, you know what, driving the narrative, which is what you do, which I thank you for what you're doing, is that it's a quote that says, it's an African proverb, I believe, that until the lion learns to write, then the tail of the hunt will always go in favor of the hunter. So now you're like a young lioness in your field, and you begin to write your own narrative. So controlling the narrative, lending our voice to the narrative, is what we can just start doing to get the message, get the truth out there that begins to go in people's minds and begins to change their actions. So that's the purpose of the blog.
Oh, okay. And I love that we're writing. That means if people are writing, that means we'll read.
Exactly.
You know, they said the number one thing to keep black people down.
Hide it in the book.
Put it in the book.
Put it in the book.
You know, so at least if we're writing, then somebody has to read it. So, what are African Americans between the age of 18 and 25 doing wrong, and what steps should we take to move forward?
So not necessarily, I wouldn't say, there are things that we're doing wrong that we can improve on. First, we have to realize like who we are. So my name is Joshua, and my mother, her favorite scripture in the Bible was Joshua, but she never told my dad that. My dad just ended up naming me Joshua, which is beautiful. But the book of Joshua, it talks about the children of Israel were looking toward the promised land, and then God, and I'm gonna make this out to a point about that generation you talked about, but God, he told them to go spy out the promised land, and there were 12 spies. 10 came back and said, look, God, there's giants in the promised land, go clear out these giants because we're afraid of the giants. There were 2 other spies, Joshua and Caleb, who said, yeah, God, there's giants in the promised land, but we can take those giants. What they represent is that you put fearless generation to our generation. We might be wild, we might be generation realizing that who we are, and then whose we are, and what God has made us for, and then, like, I go to people, I know it's like parties left and right, things like that, but then waking up from that, realize, okay, we have a mission that we were put here for. We need to begin moving on that mission, because we're the ones who are meant to take over this promised land, which is right here under our feet. We just have the mindset to go and do it.
Wow, Josh, you are a man of wisdom.
Thank you very much.
You know, and with that said, black men matter.
They do.
What does that phrase mean to you? And like, why do you matter? Why do black people matter? Why do black lives matter? And why is it so controversial in our community? So
just from going to say like black men matter is the same reason, or even more, black women matter, because you are the mother of civilization and you're like the first teacher. And black men, we have to be the ones that are the protectors. That's our responsibility. Is the protectors and the providers, and we secure things for our future so we can move forward as a people. That's why black men matter. When we fail in that, or somebody takes us off our post, then that's what happens when the community is looking like it does now, because black men haven't necessarily stepped up, which is not our fault, but now it's our responsibility to wake up and do something about it and move forward and make progress. So that's just why black men matter, because the potential that we have. And then from there, when you say black lives matter, the reason that that's become so controversial is, it's not even that it's controversial, it's just that we still living in this society where black lives don't matter to certain people. So since we have that mindset resonating in us, then we sometimes speak, it's something called like Stockholm Syndrome, where if you like been kidnapped for like a long time, you begin to like love the person that kidnapped you. We're suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. So like we're in love with our oppressors, so when anybody says black lives matter, like we'll be the ones that even come back and say such and such and such. But now studying those reasons, like we say, okay, well, you say, what about black on black crime or whatever have you, that is, we don't have to prove to anybody else that Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
It's a difference between demanding respect and then commanding respect. If you wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to take control of my communities, I'm going to stop the violence, I'm going to start building businesses in my community, then you don't have to ask anybody to respect you. Just by you doing that, they're going to be forced to respect you. So you study the Asian community, you ever heard an Asian person say Asian lives matter?
No.
But you can look at the Asian community and tell that Asian lives matter. So with that being said, that's how we show that Black Lives Matter. That's why it's controversial, but I mean, it's always going to be controversial to somebody. But we know it's true. We know it's truth. Then from there, we start moving on that truth, and then the truth will bear witness of itself, and you got to worry about it.
So y'all know Black men matter.
Black men matter.
Black lives matter.
Black women matter.
Lives matter.
Everybody lives
We
matter.
gotta know that we matter.
Exactly. We're going to focus on ourselves.
Pride. I want somebody to know Jasmine matters. It's
Yeah.
the same principle.
You do matter, Jasmine. I'll tell you that right now.
Thank you. So, can anybody participate in the Panther Party?
Yeah, anybody can participate. Is the target audience, of course, Prairie View, but you're an alumni that stay somewhere else. Like, you are part of this movement of the Panther Party. If you are a person that agree that as a university, we want to make PV great again, which is another controversial statement. We can get to that in a minute. If you agree with that, the concept of that, then in a sense, you're part of the movement of the Panther Party. And you can start moving on that agenda and that idea to make PV great again.
So, now that you brought it up,
Hey.
what does the
Segue.
Make PV Great Again hats stand for? I bought one. I think we should make PV great again. But, like, what does it mean?
So make PV great again. It's a marketing tool, a marketing scheme, as well as a really idea, a really movement we're trying to push. So when you look at it first, you think of Trump, right? You say, oh, like it has that symbolism, but you know, it's not about Trump. He used something. He took a term that resonated with a certain audience, whether it was for good or bad, whether it was like racism or hate, whatever have you. He resonated with a certain audience that was like the lowest of like the white society, and they said, you know what? Yeah, we do want to make America great again, and return it to some like fantasy time where they thought America was great for them.
Yeah.
So now we sit back and you say, you know what? He doesn't own the phrase making something great again. So if you study the history of Prairie View, it was times like we complain about Sodexo, right?
Yeah.
It was times where we produced food at our farm that we ate in the MSC. So we can still do those things. I mean, it wasn't perfect back then, but there are elements of our past that were great. So reclaiming those elements of our past that were great, then improving the elements right now that are great, combining those, and then moving towards the future is what make people great again. But it's a dope slogan. People rock with it. The hat is dope, so you know we're gonna keep moving with
Get you a
it.
hat. How much does a hat cost?
So if you follow us on social media, follow us on social media, get a 20% discount, and they're like 16 and some change.
Okay, I like that.
Thank
So, does this organization have a spiritual principle? You know, I read some blogs. It ended with like God and talking about love and things of that nature. Does it have spiritual principles? And does it tie into walking by faith at all?
So it definitely has spiritual principles. Like, I'm a Muslim. There's members who are Christians, members who just like spiritual, whatever have you. But the spirituality comes here. They realize that we are all people of a higher purpose. And when they pull Sandra Bland over, they didn't ask was she a Christian or a Muslim, or she was a Jew or didn't believe in God. They didn't ask was she's a AKA or SGO, whatever she was. They didn't ask none of those questions. It was an educated black woman who had the nerve to be fearless and challenged the authority of this white man who was a police officer, and because of that, it led to certain things which has been evident in our history. So that spiritual element is there, and realizing that we are people who are the first people on this earth. We are descendants of God Himself. If you believe in God, but just saying we're the first people on this earth is enough there. And once you realize that we are great people, and then I believe we are that chosen people. That if you study the scriptures, it used to be said that we were not in the Bible. We were just like at the end section somewhere, but I would be like very disappointed to believe that God, who sees to the end of time, did not see the worst treatment of the people in history and then make plans for their salvation. So you realize that God did do that, and you realize who you are and whose you are, and then you know that what you're going through is for a greater purpose, and you start moving towards that greater purpose.
So what does walk by faith mean to you?
Walk by faith. Walk by faith is, I'll take it on a personal level and then on a greater level. Walk by faith walk by faith on a personal level means that Faith is the evidence of things not seen. I'm probably like misquoting. I'm probably like got it switched around. It's the evidence of things not seen and the substance of things hoped for. So it's actually like a scientific and mathematical principle that if you tell me like nine things, but you told me 10 things and 9 things became true, I'm not going to sit around and question that 10 things. I know you're a person of your word. You obviously know something. So if God tells you something and he said you're going to be great, you can do this, like I got you, I'm with you, they don't even question your ability because you already went through the biggest odds you ever went through when you were born. It was like 1 billion sperm. You was just one swimming upstream in a hostile environment, but you're here right here. So now the faith is that God is in you. He made you dope. So now move on that dopeness and conquer the world as you know it. And on a general principle as a whole, the same thing for black people. God made us great. We already went through the biggest tragedy in history, the most suffering in history, so we know we are made in a certain way and we can take on anything. So knowing that we have that in us, let's move on that as a people and conquer and be fearless and conquer anything that we need to conquer.
Okay. Goodness. Where can we find you on social media, your organization on social media? We just want to put some links in below, like do the drop down.
So we're gonna plug with the pretty plug. You can follow the Panther Party on Instagram, Twitter, I think even Facebook, but it's at TPP1876, and also our website is pantherparty1876.org. And also you can follow me personally on, Instagram is Issa Ibn, ISAIBN. That's another story about that name. And on Twitter is Issa Ibn Official.
Okay.
And I think on Snapchat it's Issa Ibn too. So ISAIBN. You can look me up and find me.
Okay. And did I cover everything? Is there anything that I missed? You got any final words?
I was just in a sense like concluding and bringing it back together. Oh, I actually was thinking about this. When I was walking here, I was looking on the ground. I was going to my car to get something, coming back here, and I was looking on the ground, saw a wasp. But when I got further, the wasp was it was dead, but it was moving. But under the wasp was about like 50 ants moving this big wasp. Like I guess the nest or what's it called? The
pavement, like.
Well, no, where do ants live? The ant
hill,
the ant hill, whatever have you. But it was like 50. It was 50 ants moving this one wasp. So now you know if it's one ant taking on a gigantic wasp, who's gonna win that fight?
Yeah.
It's going to be that wasp, right? But now it was 50 ants working together. So the scripture says, study the ant. So now as a people, to study the ant and working together and then putting our personal agendas aside, when you study an ant mound, you have a worker ant, you have an ant that goes out and get food, you have the queen, you have ants that guard the queen, but no ant is sitting around tripping like about, I want that ant's position, or why she get to be a queen, whatever have you. They all are comfortable in their position. They work together for the success of the mound. So that's the same thing for black people. Studying the ant say, if we work together, there is no problem too big that our unity cannot overcome. And that is what I believe when you study the ant is what I believe is the success for black people is unity, working together, and moving for the success of the whole.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
I think we're done.
You think we're done? It was good? Okay.
So we're out. We can cut it. And